Magieli. Magieli.
Magieli is kind of horror. So, yeah, you feel like this, but the other maybe not, and then the problem is there. So, if you, in a very natural way, can be happy about not being special, wow, most of your problems are finished. Yeah? And there is this very natural happiness. There are people who are humble by nature, and they're not arrogant about their humbleness, and are not asking other people to be humble as well. They have this, they emanate this kind of well-being that, yeah, it's okay. And it's so nice to be with them. Yeah? So this is also, if you want that, then that's also fine. Even if you don't want to go all the way. But I have to warn you, I think if you start, you might want to go all the way at one point. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah? But you can stop at any moment. So whatever the Buddha is saying, whatever I'm saying, do not take it like for absolute one thing, because it needs to be put into context as one thing, and do not also just take it on board like this. Examine it. Does that make sense? Would it be worthwhile to become a kind person? As His Holiness says, my religion is kindness. Or when he says, as much as possible, in every situation, as much as possible, try to be kind. And then he usually adds, it's always possible to be kind. It's just our anger who is preventing from it. But kindness can also be, with a very strong voice, trying to prevent somebody from doing something negative. Like your children, for example, when they cross the road without watching all the time. Yeah, and so they never listen when you say, please stop and look, and then you start to shout at them. That is out of kindness. That is an act of kindness when nothing else works and you have to take, these kind of methods. But if it's out of anger, then it becomes harmful. So being kind doesn't mean you let everybody do what they want to do. Being kind means you are concerned about their well-being. That is what being kind means. And you can take your own, whatever you want and well-being, you can put that a little bit to the backside. And you don't suffer from it. Like a mom or a dad. I'm not going to do the whole, I usually say mother, okay? So I know it's also father. So like a mother who is very happily, she gives up on a dessert that the kid would want. And then she sees how the kid is eating this with a lot of pleasure. And she's happy, doesn't suffer. Oh, look at me, how good I am. I gave my dessert to the child. If it's somebody else, yeah, then you feel like, wow, I'm so generous. Yeah. So we're not getting arrogant about these things because it's natural. And this natural kindness and love that you have for your children, then in spiritual practice, it gets expanded. And until finally it's on all beings. And that's big, like, even your enemies. So then when our interest is in having everybody happy, then also maybe then we will find some solutions to neighbors who are difficult or whatever. But I think it was in Facebook one time, it said, you don't need to change people, you only have to like them. It's so true. The moment you have an open heart towards them, yeah, you can see that they're doing silly things, but it's not disturbing you. You're still peaceful, and because you're peaceful, you might be actually able to point something out to them. I don't know how it is in Israel, but in Switzerland, it's like we have this obsessive thing about wanting to tell everybody what they should do so that they can be happier. Do you have this also here? No, I thought so. Amazing. If you have the same obsession towards ourselves, I think we'd all be Buddhas by now. Okay, so the first one is to see ourselves as sick. Not sick in a way, like this fear of, oh, I will never get healthy again or something like that, but to recognize something is wrong. Okay, so that's the first one. And then if you have interest in getting healthy, you have to find a doctor. Somebody who can diagnose you, somebody who knows what is the cause, somebody who knows what is the cure. So in this case here, but for you maybe somebody different. In this case here, it's the Buddha. Okay? So then what he's teaching is like the medicine. And that medicine sometimes can be bitter. So again, if we go to the doctor with an attitude, yeah, I'll go and he'll tell me what to do, but I only do what I want to do, and I only swallow medicine that is sweet, this disgusting thing. How many of you have taken Tibetan medicine? Very nice, isn't it? Very delicious. Awful. It's also relative. I like bitter things. So I can chew it and swallow it without any water, no problem. So it's not that I go after them, because it's medicine. So I don't eat too much of it. I don't get attached to it, but I don't suffer. But many people have a lot of problems because they're very bitter and really not what we call a nice taste. Huh?
The texture also.
Yeah, texture is like little, yeah. It's all relative, but in general it's not very much liked. So if you don't trust that doctor, one thing already, you're not understanding that you need that medicine, there's no big chance that you're going to swallow it. Yeah? You will throw it away, even you have it, or it will be in a drawer. So again, it's all about attitude. The more I know that I'm sick, the more you trust that doctor that gives you the medicine, the more you will be able to then apply that medicine. Yeah. Then the swallowing of the medicine is like the practice, that becomes the cure, because that is also very important. So to understand, just having the medicine in the drawer is not going to help. Okay, so these are the attitudes that is good to have at the beginning that sometimes we forget. Or what we did this morning, just what kind of person would I like to be? What is important for me? That's it. That's the thing, and what is hindering me to be like that. Yeah? And if we could be the person that we would like to be, if it would be just a matter of wishing and hoping, then okay. But it's not. We need to do this cure. Just wishing to be healthy, or for the pain to go away without doing anything, it's also not going to work. So it's the same thing for the mind. Now, when I said yesterday that Buddhism is not a system of just belief and trust, that it's a system of knowing, like knowing especially what brings happiness and what brings suffering, like what kind of mind state and what kind of behavior. But still, then there's quite a few things that is based on belief and on trust. Like, for example, rebirth and the working of karma, the working of like what actually, when we do an action, that it has a consequence, that how this works. So that is based on belief, okay? But you're not starting with these, yeah, I believe it. You have to build this up. And how are you building it up? Is by seeing whatever you can check, whether it's true or not. And when that is true, then also you can start to trust that, okay, this I cannot check because my mind is too narrow, or I don't have enough knowledge. Knowledge, in a way, this is deeper knowledge, like seeing more than one lifetime. Because there are people who can see more than one lifetime, even non-Buddhists. They know who they are in their last life, or like that. So, so then you start to build up on the things that the Buddha says that you can check. For example, First Noble Truth. There is suffering. Is that true?
True.
I think so. I mean, I would have a different life if that would not be true. And then the second, that he says that the cause for that suffering is negative emotions and karma. The negative emotions who create the karmic imprints for the suffering. Do you think it's true that there's a lot of suffering that is created by aggression, aversion, jealousy, arrogance, wrong views, and desire? Do you think that's true?
True.
Okay. This we can check. So he didn't say anything else. That's what he said. There is suffering, and then he defined the suffering, and these are the causes for the suffering. So this we can see it's true. Then there are other things we can't see directly, but we can get to it by our intelligence and by examining it and through inference. and this is the teachings on emptiness, yeah? That the things do not, whatever, phenomena, we ourselves, other people, do not exist the way that they appear. Like everything appears separate from my own mind. The Buddha says that's not true, it's your mind projecting it. Like everything that exists does not exist from its own side, it is a dependent arising. And when it comes to emptiness, it is empty, or there is a lack of real existence. And much better teachers than I will go into that, and this is the key to get rid of all suffering. This is something you need to understand at the end, but again, you have to go in phases. So one is not denying the existence of this cup, but what is denying is the way that this cup appears to exist. So René gave a very good example. He says, when you see you're in the car, you see an empty parking lot. So that empty parking lot is not emptiness. It's an empty parking where there's no car there, absolutely no car. Then you put your car there, and then you go shopping, and you come back, and your car is not there. Then that parking lot is empty of something that you thought should be there. I thought that's a very good example. That's a very good way to see that it's not existence that is negated, but inherent, real, independent existence. Okay, it doesn't matter if you don't understand. You will hear it many, many times. What is being negated is something that a deluded mind thinks is there, and then acts as if it is there. Yeah?
I think with the parking lot, a better example would be that the parking lot is not a parking lot, it's just asphalt.
Yeah, but this again is like, this we know. So it goes, the first step is really to understand I'm negating something that I think is there. Yeah? The parking lot, of course, parking lot is only a parking lot because a mind is but that's very subtle already. Yeah? So parking lot is a parking lot because the mind calls it parking lot. Otherwise, it's not even asphalt. Then you take the asphalt apart and you find nothing. So the first thing to understand is, what does inherent existence mean? Inherent existence means that you take away something that you think is there. Real existence, existing separate from the mind. Okay? So that is the key. And this we don't have a direct experience of it. Your delusions will only be able to really throw them out. At the moment we're able to subdue them especially with shamatha, with like a quiet mind, then they are subdued. Yeah? But they're still there, and it needs only a condition to make them come up again. So in order for the negative emotions to stop, not to come back again, when you really start to eliminate them, is after having realized emptiness, this fact that there is no real cup out here, will start then when you have realized this directly. So that comes after a while. Okay? So, but we can understand that there is no real cup when we take it apart, that there is no findable cup. We can understand the concept of emptiness, not the first time maybe, okay? But you must have heard it before, you've heard it before? Everybody probably. Okay, so you all probably have heard it before. So then slowly you start to understand, this is what it means, okay? So then we can also see, yeah, it's true, there's nowhere I find one atom of real, independent, inherent existence. So we can see that this is also true. So then the other things we can't check, because like karma, how karma works, and rebirth, then this is where the trust comes. Do you see what I mean? You understand? Okay. So then the first thing to understand in Buddhism is what is called these Four Noble Truths. Is that there is suffering, and then the causes for the suffering. So those two are important, but they're not the only thing. There's only two. Yeah, so this is first what we have to understand. It's what every good doctor would do. First you have to see that there is something wrong, And then you start looking for the causes. And then in order to, you're not starting with therapy, first you look, is it possible to do something about this? And then you start with the therapy, because otherwise if there's nothing you can do, why would you start the therapy? This is what modern medicine these days is doing, especially with old people. They know there's nothing they can do, still they're trying. Yeah. So like that. So this is, so once you have understood this, then you are going on a path. And then there's many paths. There's Theravada in Buddhism, there's Mahayana in Buddhism, there's Burn, there's this, there's that. So we in the West, we are very lucky we can find out. We're not born into Buddhism, and actually nobody is by birth a Buddhist, although I know that this exists. But you become a Buddhist actually when you start to see these Four Noble Truths as true, and when you start to practice. Then you can call yourself a Buddhist. But please, don't expect everybody who has taken refuge and calls himself a Buddhist to be a Buddha. A Buddha, that will come along the way, because by now also, all the religions have lost their glamour. All the religions, you find things that are not being taught but are still, and sometimes really awful things that are being done. Burma is a Buddhist country, but what they're doing to the Rohingya is really awful. So, of course you can say, but they're Buddhist. Yeah, but they don't live Buddhism. Yeah? So this is it. At least like the other Buddhists, they're not coming up with some good excuses why they are doing this. They're doing this because it's a poor country, and then you try to have a bit less people or whatever. I don't know. Yeah? Self-concern, of course, not being able to include everybody as Burmese. So you try to find something that you can chuck out. A little bit like that. Yeah, so, and you don't have to practice Buddhism as a religion with the figures, the pictures, the prostrations, the prayers and all this. It can help, because it's a difficult path. It can really help. I don't know, this is why at the end of the meditation I said, now you can invite some positive whatever, something that inspires you to come to this room. Did you feel a difference? Okay, somebody know? Anybody else? Huh? Understand the question? At the end, when we ended, I said, now you can invite. Invite means think of. Think of a positive energy to come into this room. Then I said either the presence of the Buddha, or the Dalai Lama, or your teacher. Huh? Something that inspires you. It doesn't matter what label you put on it.
I invite and influence.
Yeah, this is what I mean, because we feel very alone sometimes. So this religious part, this transcendent part that we can't really grasp, we think we can live without it. But sometimes it's really helpful, I always use the same example. You're sitting on a plane, and you know exactly the plane is going to fall. Most of the people will fold their hands by reflex, trying to find something that gives them some strength, some courage. Yeah? So if you have an object like this, it's very, very helpful in your spiritual practice, an inspiration. Like His Holiness Dalai Lama, your guru. And they're always there. This is the thing. There's many, many Buddhas. It's not just this one. Many beings have attained full awakening. And they're always around. They're always with you. Like the thoughts of your mom or your dad are always with you, basically. And that is very helpful for us to feel support. So you tap into that energy when you do these religious things. But you can, of course, you can do this without religion, as I said, because religion has lost its glamour. At the moment, maybe better we would have a world without religion, because it's so mine is right and yours is wrong. Yeah, so also Buddhism should not be, or is not meant to be, a system of good against bad. It's a system of intelligent or wise against stupid, but in our own mind. Yeah, we start to see where the mistakes are, or where we're making mistakes, and then to apply some wisdom. So His Holiness now is really propagating that we should find methods of being able to give people Buddhism, not so that they become Buddhists, because we don't need more Buddhists in the world. We need more Buddhas. We need more kind people and more wise people than somebody with the flag, hello, I'm a Buddhist. Yeah. So he's really trying to, there's a big effort being like school systems and things like that, in order to learn to be kind. Kind in a way so that you don't suffer. You know, not this kind of forced kindness that you don't really want to do, but really by seeing the advantage of being kind, and then by becoming kind. It's just a habit. Yeah, so this is what he's trying to do. And he openly says, if religion is not helpful, then we should abolish it. So what we will practice here in this 7-year program is like in Mahayana Buddhism, which is called the graduated path to full awakening. So there's different texts in different schools. So there's, for example, Gampopas, the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, I think it's called. Then there is in the Nyingma tradition, Patrul Rinpoche's The Word of My Perfect Teacher. Sometimes with the Geluks it's called the Lamrim, the Graduated Path to Enlightenment. So it's okay what you call it again, but the steps are pretty much the same, or at least very, very similar. And because the Buddha gave many, many teachings, and just studying with the sutras, you need a lot of time to study all the sutras, and you need somebody to explain to you how this is. So all of this has been put together by a Tisha into a text that is called the Lamp for the Path, like all the teachings of the Buddha, to be able to practice in a very structured way, so that it takes care of our mind instead of destroying it. So the first step that we will be looking at is whether we have what we need to go on this path. So of course, first we have a break. So in the break, you can really start to think, do I want to go on this path? A path that teaches me how to decrease and finally to eliminate my negative emotions. Not all the emotions, just the negative ones. Do I see this as valuable? You can do this, you can follow this path out of curiosity, you can follow this path because you want to learn and you want to have your own meditation group. And then you want to earn a living with this. So there's a lot of motivations for doing this. One would say that is not such a good motivation. Yeah, like the best way to follow this path is if I understand I'm sick and I want to be healthy, and to have enough trust that yes, I can be healthy by looking at beings that inspire me. And I was lucky enough to live 17 years in Dharamsala and to have contact with people who are not at all famous, but who have beautiful minds. Yeah, and then I thought, I want to become like them. Being tortured, having lost their country, having absolutely no anger. Yeah. So when you say, yes, anger can change a lot of things, the Dalai Lama says, if we would have gotten angry at the Chinese, do you think we would have conquered them? That little 6 million Tibetans against billions of Chinese. So then what? Many people would have died. Many more people would have died. So be sad about the situation. But that's not with anger that you can get that country back. Maybe something will change anyway. So that's the path, is to decrease your negative emotions and to increase or to nourish the positive ones, so that you have a better life, but also then to make others benefit from that. So that's the goal. So then you need to see, do I have the conditions that I need to be able to practice these sometimes not so easy cures? Because you need to go to courses, you need a Sangha, you need quite a lot of things. Alone, just with books, even after 7 years, I would say it's not possible. This is why there is 3 objects where we take refuge in. It's the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Yeah, and the Sangha is your spiritual friends, people who practice with you. Some are more advanced, some are not so advanced. You can help them along. We share our pains, we share our joys on this path. And so it's very powerful, the Sangha. So I'm sure you have made this experience also, that after a course you go home full of good intentions, that yes, now I practice this, now I will change, and da da da. But then you're not with the Sangha again. You are amongst other people who are absolutely not interested in developing a good heart. And very quickly you fall back into habits. Have you noticed that? Yeah. And I see that people nod, but they nod with a sad face. They're not nodding with, yeah, back to normal. Because deep down, because it is our nature to be good. Last night when I made you think I am a good person, please do that again and again and again and again and again, so that you start to feel it and you start to trust it. Put all the arguments against it aside. Just tell them to shut up. You can tell them, I've been listening to you life after life after life after life. Didn't get me anywhere. So now just be quiet for a while. I am a good person. Because then that goodness starts to come out. Whereas if we constantly tell ourselves how bad we are, then of course then we become that person. Did it have an effect on you when you sit and say, I'm a good person? See, we hardly dare to say it. Because we think it's selfish, it's arrogant, and whatever. It's not. It's our nature. It's our nature to be good, and we don't live it, and that's such a shame. It's like having an unlimited Visa card, and you don't know what it's for. So you just look at it and say, oh wow, look, it shimmers, it glitters, it's very nice. There's a hologram on it. Wow, how nice it is. And you put it on your cabinet, and meanwhile your children are hungry, because you don't know what it's for. Yeah? We can use that situation that we have in such a good way. And what the situation is, we'll talk about in the afternoon. Okay? So, yeah, question is, do I want this? Do I want that goodness to come out? And then to really think about this very deeply. What does it mean for me, the word, a good person? How negative emotions make us suffer, as I said, this we see when they are directed at us, when we are the target of negative emotions. And when we look at the person who is full of desire or full of jealousy or aggression, I don't think we see them as happy people. So check it up in your daily life. Our reactions to negative emotions, how we feel when we have negative emotions, and so on. So the structure of this path, maybe we'll talk about this a bit more this afternoon, what the steps are, so that we know steps, and then we start to define what is a precious human rebirth, which is the first thing to check. This is what I need in order to go on that path. Because otherwise you're like the patient who doesn't have the conditions to do the cure. Yeah? If you need a hydro cure, then you don't have a water, then you cannot do it. Okay? Is that more or less clear? Okay, so then, yeah.
I have a question. Should I ask you now after the break? From the beginning of the
maybe after the break, so that we can have a break. Now that I'm more or less on time, I'm usually not on time, so I'm trying very hard to be on time. I'm getting better at it. So only 4 minutes now.